Hey, it's Jonathan. The question is, how many lawns per day should my crews mow? So, I cannot answer this question, but I can tell you how to figure it out for yourself. The reason I can't answer it is all of us in this business we have a different assortment of clients, we have a different assortment of properties and property sizes. And so, depending on where you're at in the country and then within a state or a city, depending on what part of the market you're serving, it varies for all of us. So, in my market, we've got everything from small properties to 1 to 2 acre residential properties to small commercial, such as a subway, a freestanding subway building, or a freestanding 7-Eleven, all the way to multi acre properties to 100 acre commercial properties, such as the EDSs and Frito Lay's of the world. So, lots of variants. So, I can't answer the question. So, most often, the questions I receive, I'm going to assume this is your question. Most often, the questions I receive are in regards to smaller properties. You're not probably not bidding the 10 acre commercial property. And so I don't know your square footages. So what you've got to do initially, and most of us started out at some point, we did some of this work ourselves. So what you're asking is, what should you expect of the guys you hire? Well, you should expect a little bit less from them than what you were able to do. Generally, this is true of having employees in any facet of your business. So you hire an employee and you perform a job, and your job is up here in quality level. And you need to get out from doing that job as quickly as you can and give it to somebody else so you can move to the next level and do this job. That's part of growing a business. You're always moving up, doing something new, growing the business, taking the business to a next level. Well, every time you quit doing something, you're going to bring somebody else in behind you to do it. Generally, they're not going to do it as well as you did it. You're the boss, you're the owner. There's a reason you're the guy running the company, and they're not. And that's not always true, but generally, you're the guy that's inspired to work late, work long hours. You're the one that's super motivated. This is your baby. It's not their baby. They've got a family and they got other things going on in their life. This isn't their baby. They're generally going to produce a little bit less quality work. Now, I'll make one exception to that. Very often, I've hired people that can do better than I did. They're doing jobs I should have never been doing. I just had to do them for a short period of time until we could hire somebody. So there's elements of your business where they're going to do better work than you. There's elements of your business that you liked and you were good at. And whoever you hire, know when you hire them, they're not going to be quite as good as you. I say all of this to tell you that if you love working outdoors and you're really good and your production's fast and you're skilled at this, you may hire guys to come in and work behind you that don't own this business. Their work, their performance is going to possibly be a little bit less than yours. Okay? So the basis of figuring out how long is it going to take them, how many yards can they do a day, I would put it back on you and I'd say, how many can you do a day? So what's the most efficient means to do a yard? The absolute most efficient way to do a property is to have one person do the property. That's the most efficient. The next most efficient is to have two people do the property. Now, when I say efficiency, we're not talking about the proper utilization of assets. So let me cover this real quick. You've spent $9,000 to buy a turf tiger, and you send the turf tiger out with a crew of one. And the guy uses the turf tiger for 3 hours a day because the rest of the day he's weed eating and edging and blowing. And so you're only utilizing that turf tiger for 3 hours a day. The other 7 hours of the day, that turf tiger that cost you $9,000 is not being utilized. That is very poor utilization of assets. It's very poor utilization of trucks. Okay, so good utilization of assets would be, you've got a $9,000 investment in equipment. You want to construct a crew so that that turf tiger is being used almost all day. It's being utilized very, very well. It's working all day long. And while it's working, a guy's weed eating and a guy's edging and a guy's blowing. Okay, so that's a good utilization of assets. All right, that keeps you from having to buy a second turf tiger before it's absolutely necessary. We're not talking about utilization of assets. I am talking solely about utilization of people. All right, so if you're talking about How many yards a day should a person be able to do? Let's think about it from your perspective. How many can you go out? You know the size of your properties. How many can you go do by yourself? Because just by yourself is most efficient. You go mow, you put the mower down, you go weed eat, you put that down, you do edge. There's no wasted time. There's no sitting around waiting for another guy to get done blowing the grass, or no waiting around for anything. You're done, you leave, you go to the next yard. That's maximum efficiency. How many can you do? Once you figure out it takes me on average 45 minutes by myself to do this, divide that out by the number of people you're going to have on the job. And then take some, then consider two other factors. You introduce more people into the equation, you introduce more waste. You've got 3 guys on a crew, 1 or 2 guys is going to be waiting on the third guy to finish. So you're losing a little time there. So if the job took you 45 minutes, or let me do something that's easy math. The job takes you 40 minutes, and now you introduce 2 people into the equation. Theoretically, you should be able to do the job in 20 minutes. 2 people times 2 is 40 minutes, or times 20 is 40 minutes. That won't really work that way because they won't finish at the exact same time. One guy will finish in 18 minutes, and another guy will finish in 22 minutes because one was mowing and one was edging and weeding. So you've just lost a couple minutes of efficiency. All right? So as you do this calculation to determine what you should expect of your guys, consider you're going to lose some efficiency because you've added more guys into the equation. Okay? It doesn't have to be a lot, but you're going to lose some. And now consider that if you like what you're doing and you're good at it, and you bring somebody in to replace you, they're probably not going to be as fast as you. They don't have the vested interest you have. So immediately adjust it down. Maybe their performance is going to be 10% less than yours. So that's going to affect the time. So those are the 2 big things that are going to have effect on time. As long as you're actively managing to make sure they're not taking too many breaks, and they're not making too many blatant mistakes, and that they're being efficient about how they're mowing and edging and such. And so as long as they're following the pattern that you've set up and you've trained them to do, that's how you figure out the efficiency. It's going to be slightly less than yours. So think about it in terms of what would I do, one man, and then divide it out based on the number of people you have, and then you can arrive at about how many yards a day they can do. And so, not a perfect answer, but there really is no perfect answer. That's kind of how you go about figuring out what to expect. Then you start using software to track how long does it take them to do each job, and how long does it take them to drive between jobs. And then when they know they're being tracked, they're immediately more effective. Immediately more efficient because they know they're being watched. And then if one week it takes them 16 minutes to do a yard, next week it takes them 28 minutes, something just went wrong, and you can talk to them about it, figure out what it is. When they know they're being watched, and when you track their time, you can drive more efficiency into the whole thing. They know it should take, if it took 16 minutes one week, it should probably take between 14 and 18 minutes the next week, and then 14 to 18 minutes. As long as they're bouncing in between around that time frame, all's good. As soon as they get out of it, or they get it done way too quick, something's wrong. You're notified if you're using the right computer system, and you can deal with it. So first you start out making some assumptions based on what you can do, then you start tracking it. You start tracking what they're actually doing. And then you get out there and watch them doing the job. You watch them do the job, and you help them become more efficient, and you track the time, and you start setting benchmarks by square footage. The property was 14,000 square feet. It took X amount of time. And for my other crew that's doing 14,000 square feet, that's a very similar layout property-wise, it's taking them 7 more minutes. Why? You start looking at your business like that. Then you can start really getting these efficiencies in there, and you can figure out what to expect of all your people. So, hope that helps.